Galway 124, Roscommon 18 points. Galway are into the Connacht Senior Football Final. They will play Mayo in a couple of weeks' time. This is the instant match reaction. We're going to be discussing the game, breaking the game down as Galway win out winners in the end by 9 points. Comfortable enough in the end for Galway. You were hoping this game would be a little bit closer. You were hoping this game would be more competitive than it was. But Galway were just very, very good today. They kept Roscommon at arm's length. They managed the game brilliantly and, took their points, took their 2-pointers when they came along. And to be honest with you, Roscommon, they had a couple of moments here and there where it looked like maybe they might be able to make more of a game of it. But to be fair, Galway were superb today, absolutely superb. Matthew Tierney with a phenomenal performance, 1-3, couple, I think 1 2-pointer in there. Robert Finnerty with 8 points as well was very, very impressive. And for Galway in general, to be without Shane Walsh, to be without Damien Comer, who Damien Comer obviously comes off the bench, to be without kind of key players in the end from a Galway perspective, I think that's very, very impressive for Galway to come through the Roscommon test. Paul Conroy, I thought, had a very good game as well with 5 points. John Maher back on the side as well was very aggressive in his ball carrying. Some of his offloads were very impressive as well. And of course, he kicked 2 massively important points from a Galway perspective. So yeah, big result for Roscommon. It's one of them things with Roscommon. We saw this game numerous times really over the last couple of years. Is there a quality gap of 9 points between these two sides? I'm not sure. I thought Roscommon would have made it a little bit closer. And they had moments in the game, and they probably should have had a penalty early on. That is worth mentioning for the foul on Ben O'Carroll. I've actually no idea why they didn't give it. I was watching the game on mute, so because I was watching Limerick Tipperary as well. So I've no idea why they didn't give it. I heard it's something got to do with the advantage or something like that. Yeah, a little bit bizarre that wasn't given, but it would have given Roscommon a chance. Look, if they score that penalty, they've something to defend, albeit it's very, very early on in the game. And especially when you look at how the game went as well, I think it would be disingenuous really to Galway to say that they wouldn't have won that game. And yeah, just controlled, measured. Finnerty, couple of lovely points, peeling off his shoulder. Very impressive. Killy McDade as well was very good. And look, for Roscommon, Ben O'Carroll was a shining light for them, and they'd be delighted to obviously have him back on the side. And German and Kieran Murtha, we know obviously how impressive those two players are. But aside from that, that was it for the Rossies really. It looked like they were trying to force 2-pointers maybe at different stages, chances dropping short, chances going wide. And as much as they tried to plug Galway to get back into the game, they just kept losing the ball through turnovers, really, and Galway just kept turning them over. And I thought the likes of Sean Kelly and Dylan McHugh were excellent in those scenarios. I think another thing we're pointing out for Galway as well, they were brilliant on their own kickouts. It wasn't just the same kick out every time. Times it was going out to Conroy, times to McDade. They were mixing it up, and I thought that was impressive as well from a Galway perspective. But yeah, it was probably a little bit disappointing that the game wasn't closer. I thought Roscommon had a chance coming into this game just on the basis that, Comer was on the bench. There was no Shane Walsh. You thought that there was an opportunity there for the Rossies to make something out of it, but it wasn't the case at all. Galway really right from the get-go were by far the better side, and every time it looked like Roscommon were going to come back into the game, Galway would come back with something themselves. And ultimately for Galway, I think they are the best team in Connacht without question. In my opinion, I think they've proven that over the last couple of years. I think Mayo's recent performances in Connacht probably tell you that as well. So yeah, there's kind of not much really else to say about the game other than very comfortable for Galway. Roscommon, they just, I don't know what it is about Roscommon, but I feel like at times we saw this under Davy Burke a lot of the time, where they keep the ball probably too much. They're not forcing enough chances. They don't move the ball quick enough. I thought they allowed Galway to get back in their defensive shell when, towards the end of the game, a bit too easily. And they just weren't taking enough chances. Like, they needed to, float a long ball into Kieran Murtagh, or float a long ball into Keane McKeown, who barely had any of the ball in the game. Like, take chances, take risks, try and do something a little bit different. It was all just a bit too passive at times. And Galway were just able, that was just bread and butter really for Galway. I think Galway would be delighted with how they played defensively in this game as well. There have been question marks over their defence very much since the Kerry game towards the end of the league. But yeah, they were brilliant defensively today. And Roscommon, one or two half goal chances, but overall managed to keep them at bay. And it's going to be interesting to see how they get on now against Mayo in a couple of weeks' time. It is the Connacht final that I think everyone pretty much predicted. And mad, like, who would have predicted this? Mayo and Leitrim yesterday was actually a closer game than this one. If you had predicted that, in the build up to the weekend's games, I think people would have thought you were, on planet Mars or drunk or something like that. You know what I mean? And like, to be fair, I mean, like, Leitrim probably did give it more of a rattle than Roscommon did today. But yeah, fair play to Galway getting over the line, 124 to 18 points. Do let me know your thoughts, your opinions on the game in the comments down below. We will be back tomorrow with a review show, reviewing all the games, reviewing the football, reviewing the hurling. Plenty of talking points, of course, are going to be in that show. I mean, both hurling games today were phenomenal, both draws as well, which is very interesting. Was trying to watch a bit of the Limerick Tipperary game as well, but also trying to watch the Liverpool match as well. So, trying to watch 3 games at once with 2 eyes, it's a little bit difficult, to be honest with you. But anyway, we won't complain. It's great to have it. And yeah, fair play to Galway. For Roscommon, back to the drawing board. It's same old, probably in the Davy Burke era. Probably needed a bit more. We know Kieran Murtagh, German Murtagh, what they're going to do, but they probably needed a bit more from their forwards. Maybe needed a bit more attack from midfielders as well. And probably just needed to take a bit more risks overall. Needed to take a few more chances in definitive moments. They just weren't really risky enough in those moments. But look, they'll go into the group stages. I have noticed over the last 2 years that Roscommon have improved a lot when they've got to the group stages. I think they've given some good performances in the groups over the last couple of years, in particular, obviously, against Dublin. And even as well, then going into that preliminary quarterfinal, which they beat Tyrone last year. So it'll be interesting to see how they do get on going into that one as well. But yeah, fair play to Galway in terms of man of the match. Probably would go with Paul Conroy. I thought he was outstanding. But Robert Finnerty was brilliant as well, 8 points. So you can't really look past him, in fairness. And Dylan McHugh had a superb game at wing back, it must be said. So yeah, do let me know your thoughts, your opinions in the comments down below. Fair play to Galway for getting over the line. They march on to the Connacht finals, whereas Roscommon march on to the group stages. So cheers anyone who tuned in, and I'll speak to you all later.